morning, this is Garden Ninja, and today I'm up in Bolton and we're doing an overlooked back garden makeover, and this is based on one of the designs that I did earlier this year. So I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks to how to get that perfect secluded garden even if you've got loads of neighbours that might be peering over your garden fence. So here was the garden before the design transformation. There was a strange coffin-shaped lawn, random pick and mix shrubs and an odd raised bed at an angle at the back. It had no storage, nowhere to sit, and was overlooked by at least 6 different windows, so it was quite a challenge. The garden was also really small, and small gardens can be quite tricky to design because you've not got as much space, so you have to do a few things really well. So my design focused on using a circular lawn and soft drifts of pink and white plants. There was also a path that ran across the lawn leading to a shed for storing. I also chose to use standard Virginia trees to block the views from the different windows, rather than simply putting up a fence or a hedge. This kept a light, airy feel to the garden, whilst also bringing the feeling of privacy. So all the plants have now arrived, and I'm going to start positioning them based on the design. So we've got a mixture of low maintenance shrubs. We've got plants that like shade, dappled shade, but we've kept it to a really simple palette, so there'll be lots of drifts of different colour, but not too much fuss. So hopefully it should look good all year round without too much attention. So here we have 3 of the plants that'll be featuring in the garden. The first one here is a Strantia major, which will go in dappled shade or sun. We've then got some asters at the back that will give like a low carpet of white daisies that will look really beautiful. They don't mind a bit of shade either. And then hellebores here, which love shade and will have beautiful white flowers at the end of the season. So I've introduced some Skimmia japonica and Weigela into the garden to give some year-round interest and structure, so as the other herbaceous perennials die down, they will still give that design feel to the garden. So the shed's now been fitted behind us, which gives a really nice screen for these plants down here. And one of the top tips I have with sheds is that usually people tend to put them door face on, so facing the door, taking up quite a long part of the garden. But with this example, I'll show you now, we've spun it round so the door is on the side, and that saves loads of room and also means that you can fit many more plants in, as we can see down here. And also, as I said, that shed wall there acts as a really nice foil for this acer down here. So it's important to work out the colour palette in the garden. So with this example, we're going for quite a simple colour palette of pinks and whites that are going to blend together throughout the garden. Now it's really easy to think, well, I'll just go and get loads of different plants, almost like the top 40 of plants. But what's key is paring back the amount of plants that you have in the different varieties. So in this garden, we're probably only working between 10 and 12 different plant varieties and using them in bulk, weaving them throughout the garden to give consistency. So whilst it may feel like you're not putting as much in terms of variety, you're actually getting a much bigger effect and more impact, which is really key in a small garden, because you've only got a small amount of space, you want to make the most of it. So do one thing well rather than lots of things poorly. And I'll show you that a bit later on. So we're now at this back corner that's really shady and quite dry, so I've picked plants that will work really well in these conditions. As this bank runs down though, it does get quite damp because it's slightly clay at the bottom in terms of the soil. So we've got things like Dicentra, which works really well in wet and damp conditions. We've got some beautiful hellebores that will bring some winter colour. And we've got Liriope as well, that's really tough, will pretty much grow anywhere and gives autumn bursts of little petals on the top of it as well. So these should work really well in this area of the garden. Here's a really good example of taking one colour and drifting it through the garden for consistency. So we've got this limey green here, the Choisia. We've got the Skimmia japonica, which again is like a dark green with red berries, and that offsets against that. We've got the Alchemilla mollis here with these limey yellow flowers again. We've got the Wilegia at the back there with the small pink flowers and the variegation. We've then got the geraniums with the pink flowers, the Astrantia, so you get my drift. It's all coming through this border with that same colour, different hues of green, glossy versus matte, and then the pink and the whites. So it should look really beautiful when it's done. Here we have it, the finished article. We've got the standard Virginias to help block out some of the views, and that planting palette of soft pinks and whites with a mix of evergreen shrubs and low fuss herbaceous perennials. which over time will knit together to form a carpet around the lawn with those beautiful whites and pinks. So I've just finished the overlooked garden design now, and I'm really excited about this one. Using the standard trees that you'll see in the background, the photinias, we've managed to break up some of the views from the neighbouring properties, and this broken view gives you the feeling of being private when actually it's quite open. The use of a circular lawn also means that it draws your attention into the centre of the garden, and I've coupled this with a really dreamy pink and white planting colour palette and some repetition in the planting. There's hardly any dramatic plants here, it's all soft, stuff that blends together, some evergreens, some shrubs, things that will blend, grow together into sort of a carpet, a mass of calm. So it's all about feeling secure and nested in this garden, and I think we've achieved that. If you've liked this video, why not subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can check out more garden designs and how to. I've been Garden Ninja, thanks for watching.